We're having open and honest conversations about mental health and well-being. We should talk about it with Maira Ansari on Wave Now.
Hey there, folks. Thanks so much for joining us here on Wave Now. I'm Maira Ansari for our latest episode of We Should Talk About It. I'm so excited to have Molly Jones with us today. She's one of the founders of the Pete Foundation, a local organization that promotes talking about mental health awareness and suicide and what we can do to better our community. Molly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk about the Pete Foundation, but also talk about a big event that you all have coming up that breaks down the barriers of talking about how we feel like sometimes in our community, in our society, we can't talk about mental health because that's such a taboo topic. We don't want to show our weaknesses, but we really do need to show that a lot of people are struggling, and the only way to get over this hump that sometimes we are in is to talk about it.
That's correct. And you say we don't want to talk about it. I think people do want to talk about it. They don't feel that they can or they're not comfortable, but they so appreciate the invitation to be able to talk about it.
And that's why we have this format here. Whether you're joining us via the podcast, We Should Talk About It, or right now on social media, because we want you to feel like you are not alone in this. If you are struggling, there are resources out there. There are people that understand. I just had this conversation with my cousin yesterday. Just sometimes how life can feel so overwhelming and you don't know what to do. And then we had that 30-minute conversation, and she was like, I'm so glad we talked. And I was so happy to be that listening board for her with no judgment, with no, hey, this is a safe space for you to talk. And that's the purpose of this.
That's right. And when life is overwhelming, you don't know where to go, and it gets you so stuck. Mm-hmm. And sometimes just talking, you can figure out the step to take.
Yeah.
And that opens up the next step and so on.
Tell me about the Pete Foundation. This is extremely personal for you.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Very personal. So, I lost my son Pete in December of 2016. It was a shock to the whole family. We knew he had been suffering depression, but we had no idea that he would choose to end his life. Just no concept of that. And he's one of 5 children. He has an identical twin brother. Very loved. They're very close in age and very close in their love for each other. And so we just felt immediately, yes, the shock of losing him was monumental, but the thought that he had suffered was just unbearable. Mm-hmm. And so his brothers and sister felt like we had to do something, because if somebody is seemingly happy and well-grounded as Pete was suffering so poorly, many young people are suffering, and we have to stop that.
Yeah. So you all took that pain and that grief and tried to you are turning that into something positive to help folks. That's why you're coming right now to talk about this, because Molly, that there's someone out there that's struggling right now.
Yes, I know that. And I know that I'm so afraid that there are parents and loved ones that are going to suffer as we did and do, and we don't need that to happen. Mm-hmm. We can stop that.
Yeah. Before we get any further, I really want you all to watch this video that the Pete Foundation has put together. This really encompasses Pete's story, the work that they do, and just take a few minutes, stay with us here, and watch this video, please.
If you asked me 5 years ago, who's like the happiest guy, who's the guy who likes to have fun the most, out of everybody Pete would have been like probably number one.
Pete had a light, fun personality. He had an excellent sense of humor.
He really went out of his way to make strangers feel comfortable and happy and good. So he was just a really good person.
He was always super thoughtful and kind, and you never saw any inklings of this level of haunting depression that seemed to be there.
Even though I knew he was depressed and he said that and he was getting help, suicide never ever crossed our minds.
I realize now it should be on everybody's radar. Society is keeping us from talking about this, from realizing that it is such a real possibility.
There's no reason for someone to have to suffer with depression or thoughts of suicide and suicidality for so long without getting help.
Imagine if we couldn't talk about a fever, how many infants we would lose because they would die from a fever spiking because we weren't allowed to talk about it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what suicide is. That's what depression, that's what mental health is. And we need to be able to talk about it.
I think that 100% if he did feel like he could talk about that, then he would still be here.
From this darkest of hours, they kind of bound together and immediately jumped into creating a kind of proactive, constructive, new idea of how they could explore and add to the world of mental health by creating the Pete Foundation.
Pete Foundation's mission is to rally communities to enable youth to talk about mental health and mental wellness.
Let's look at early adolescence and what can we do to provide children with what they need for emotional wellness and emotional strength.
So we're doing it in multiple ways, whether it's through the Pete Fest or through education at schools, through education of parents, through our website.
The goal of Pete Fest is to get this topic out in the open, to bring people together, to share in this fight together, and also to spread knowledge.
And that's what Pete Foundation is all about, is to take down that barrier so that within any family, within any community, and with any area, whether it be a school, a workplace, a social club, that if you need to talk about today's not a good mental health day, you can talk about it.
I feel like the stigmas are there because we were afraid of suicide. You don't talk about it because you're afraid of it, and we're afraid of it because we don't understand it. Just say, we're not going to be afraid of it. We're going to talk about it, we're going to understand it, we're going to learn about it, and we're going to help conquer it for a lot of our loved ones.
Molly, that was such a touching video that you all have. If you want to watch that video, share it with your loved ones. I've included a link to the Pete Foundation on this stream. Click on it. And I was telling Molly that when I first watched that video, it just kind of made me stop and gave me chills. And I can't imagine what you and your family have gone through.
It's pretty hard. And every time I hear of another loss of a child or loved one by suicide, I know what that family's going through.
It's so tough.
It is.
It's still, you know, as a mother, I can't imagine that pain. I can't imagine the feelings that you never get over something like that.
No, you don't.
No.
You can't. Because your love continues.
Sure. Tell me more about Pete. He sounded like a great guy.
He was really fun. He had a great sense of humor, and most of his humor relied on his really good use of the English language and the ability to kind of use words in a funny way, make a lot of puns. But he always could add humor, you know, to any conversation. People were so happy to encounter him. If he walked in the room, you know, he was who everybody looked to. Mm-hmm. He was friendly, kind, always supportive. I can't tell you how many of his friends' parents reached out to me after we lost Pete and said, if Pete hadn't helped my son, my daughter at this point, I don't know where they'd be today. So he was like the rock
And he
for
was
everybody.
really smart.
Very smart.
Tell me about that. He went to college. He came back here to Louisville to further his education. And I'm sure, like, he had big dreams.
He did have big dreams. He had a full scholarship to a couple of universities, and he chose the University of Alabama. He's actually the only one of my children that didn't go to the University of Louisville. And he had a great time there. He loved it. He did well. He graduated with a 4.0. And he had even added into his curriculum, he studied mechanical engineering. He added in a co-op, a working internship, which was not part of their program, but he wanted. And even with doing that, he was able to complete the coursework and just graduate with such high grades.
That makes you smile.
It does, it does. And mostly remembering how much fun he had there. He just loved it.
Yeah. When did you all, did he ever talk about a struggle? Did he ever share anything? Did you know?
Never growing up. It wasn't until he returned to Louisville and he started a master's in engineering at U of L, and his twin brother was also there at U of L. And he stopped going to class. Well, that's absolutely not like Pete to not go to class. And when he wasn't going to class, I said, Pete, what's the matter? Why are you not going to class? And he just looked at me and he said, because I'm depressed. And that was the first sign and the first time he spoke any words like that. And so immediately I asked him, I said, did something happen? And he said, no, I've been this way my whole life. Those are his words. Now, I knew, you know, when somebody age 22 says my whole life, that's talking about their early adolescence on. You know, you're not talking about when you're 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So I knew he had been, at that point, struggling a long time. And I said, Pete, would you be willing to go see someone to get some help? And he said yes. So immediately I looked at, you know, getting him set up to see a therapist, a psychiatrist, to see what we could do. And he was very open to that. He didn't miss his appointments. He always went. He saw a psychiatrist that also provided therapy, so he really liked that. He really wanted to get better. For that year, that went on for about a year, he spoke to me often. We talked about his treatment often and how he was feeling. And he was getting better. He was doing better and feeling better. And he retained a lot of hopes for the future. And he was always doing nice things for people. Even through that struggle, he was the rock for everybody else and always willing to lend a hand and help out.
You did the right thing. You know, there's probably parents who are watching this and either they know their child is struggling or their friend is struggling and said, okay, let's get help. You took it very seriously.
Oh, yeah. Because I guess one thing that helped me, but every parent should take it serious, but with Pete, he was always, very level-headed. So when he told me he was depressed, boom, I knew that it was real. It wasn't just
a
phase or a phrase that he was using. I knew it was real.
Did he ever indicate, and forgive me if some of this is hard to talk about, like it was getting too much or the pain he was feeling?
No, he didn't. But I didn't know to ask him if he was thinking of hurting himself or ending his life. I didn't know to do that. And the Pete Foundation teaches a training course, and I'm certified to teach it. And in that, we help educate. It's a certified course nationwide, and you learn how to ask somebody if they're considering that. I think if I had known that, Pete would be here. Unfortunately, it's that simple.
You can't, beat yourself up for something. Because I don't think as parents we think, okay, you think that you're doing the right thing, you're talking about it, you're getting them help, and you think, okay, they're strong, they'll pull through this, they'll get over it, they'll move on from whatever grief that they're feeling, or learn how to manage it. So I'm sure when you look back, there's so many things that you think you could have done or should have done, but that's hard to.
You can't do that. You can only hold yourself responsible to have done what you knew to do.
Yes, absolutely.
And like I say, I didn't know.
Yeah.
However, the fact that that can be known and that it's so easy just gives me hope for so many other people out there.
Yeah.
It's the important thing is not that I didn't know and I didn't ask. The important thing is that I help people learn that they can know to ask.
Sure.
And they can feel comfortable in asking that.
And there's probably folks that are listening to us right now that know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And I'm sure for those of us that haven't been in that position, we don't understand it. Yeah. But for those that are feeling that grief of, I didn't ask, or what would you say to them, Molly?
I would say just what I said. You can't be responsible for what you didn't know to do. So don't hold on to that. Mm-hmm. Hold on to what you can do going forward. Mm-hmm. And I can help a lot of people going forward.
And that's why you developed the Pete Foundation.
Yes. Yes.
At what point in this this path did you think, okay, this horrible thing happened and now I've got to do something?
I would say on the day after we lost Pete, and it was actually we have to do something. This, if it happened like this to us, it's happening to other people all the time, and we have to stop it. And you said just a minute ago, if you've never been in that situation. Well, until Pete told me he was depressed, I was never in that situation. That was outside of my life, but I was immediately put there. And so we never know when we might be immediately put into a situation where we really need to be able to help somebody, a loved one who's struggling.
You don't want another mother to feel the way that you're feeling?
I don't. Not one more.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I think people who, I've struggled with mental health, but like when you're feeling that lowest of lows, you feel like I just want this feeling to stop.
Yeah.
You know, like I just want this to just go away, and this is how I think this will go away. Or sometimes people don't understand how much that they are loved and how much the world will miss them when they're not here.
Right, right. And how much those people who love them will help them get to a place where they don't have that feeling that they need to make the pain stop.
So that's part of what you all are doing, and you've developed the Pete Foundation so people don't feel like, okay, I can't talk about this, or I don't want anyone to know this, how I'm feeling. Or sometimes I think people who are struggling with their mental health really have a mask on. They're letting the world think that everything's okay, and they're chugging along, and really inside there is a lot of pain that's happening.
I think that's exactly right. And I think with Pete, looking back, he was always concerned about other people suffering, not feeling good, not being happy. He was always concerned about that. And
a people pleaser.
And he wanted to help those people. And I look back now and I feel like that's because Pete knew what that suffering felt like. And he didn't want it for anybody else.
So what do you want to do, Molly, now that you have developed the Pete Foundation? What do you want folks to do?
I want them to be part of a movement that we're calling Rock the Elephant. And it's getting rid of the stigma, talking openly about mental health. We need to all be pushing for and asking for more research and more education into mental health care. We need to realize first and then push for improving the standards for mental health care so that they meet the standards for all other health care, especially all other life-threatening illnesses, and making that care accessible to everybody. And so we can do that talking about it. The first one, getting rid of the stigma. get the training. It's called QPR. It's Question, Persuade, Refer. 60 minutes. We offer it free. A lot of certified places offer it free. Some of them may charge just a little bit for booklets and so on. We offer it in workplaces. We'll offer it at your home. We offer it anywhere, any size group. Get that training because it will make you a better advocate. It will also enable you to save a life of a stranger or a loved one. So that's one of the first things that people can do. We're also pushing for, we feel like we need better integration of mental health into healthcare so that every area of our healthcare also is integrated with the potential need for mental health.
You touched on something, when you have a broken arm or a broken leg or something like that, sometimes our medical struggles are visible. But with mental health, a lot of the times it's not visible.
That's right.
And we don't see it, so therefore we don't address it. And I think it's taken us a while to say, you know what, how are you, to even approach the topic, right? Because I think for so many years we never talked about it. The meltdowns that we would have, they were done secretly.
Yes.
They were done with shame. And I think so much of our society is like, you have to push forward, you have to push forward.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes I need to stop.
Right. We do. And also sometimes, so like let's take the broken arm. You've got it, it's visible, everybody sees it.
Everybody's sympathizing.
And they sympathize,
Yes.
they want to write on your cast.
Yes.
They want to do stuff for you. You can describe what it feels like, okay? And people will listen and they'll be sympathetic for what they get some knowledge about that. We can be sympathetic toward each other, supportive for each other, and just get rid of the stigma and let's start moving on and improving healthcare. Until we get rid of the stigma and until we all start to understand what this health issue is, our health system isn't going to change.
Absolutely.
This is a bottom-up change that has to happen.
And it's a big change.
Yes.
It is a big change, and it requires a lot of minds to be shifted, right?
Yes.
Into accepting that this is something a lot of folks are struggling with. When you started this, when you experienced what happened with Pete, did it surprise you, Molly, at any point? Like how many people were struggling?
Yes, it surprised me. It surprised me about how many people were struggling, about how people can struggle and those who love them don't know it, and about how people who seemingly have everything can struggle. Because we want to, people want to look at Pete and it's like, gosh.
He looks so happy.
Yeah, you're happy, you're smart, you've got a family who loves you. What could be the problem? Well, that's not it at all. And so we need to understand that. And, I will say, and this is so critical and condemning of me, but I kind of always thought it was somebody else. It was other family, it was out there. But it's not. It's not out there.
When you share your story with folks, Molly, and you say, you know what, I didn't think that this was in my home, that this pain was in my home, does that open their eyes?
Yeah, it does. It does. And for anyone who knew Pete, it really opened their eyes because he did not seem like the person who was struggling. And we're a close family, so for instance, I like to cook. That's what I like to do. I can have the most awful day, but what I'm looking forward to is cooking. And so I actually prepared breakfast every day. School days, we all sat down to breakfast together and we all sat down to dinner together. So I prepared 2 meals a day, and so that was always such good quality time. Never in there, in all those years that I did that, was there an indication that Pete was struggling. So, they say, well, families need to be close and tight and supportive. And we were, and yes, that's good. It certainly didn't hurt anything, but it's not the answer. It is not the cure or the way to avoid mental illness.
So I know that you mentioned that there is like a proper training on how to approach somebody to ask those questions, but what advice can you give to folks? How do you come out and say, hey, something wrong? Or do you want to talk about it? Like, how do you do that?
You just did it.
Okay.
It's always good if you can, first of all, make sure you're kind of in a private place. Don't do it when there's other people around that person may not want to speak in front of. And you can just start out by saying, hey, you know, I know such and such has been going on, or I know this happened, and that can be really hard. I know that can really be hard and force somebody to carry a lot inside. Are you doing okay with it? How are you feeling about it? Is it weighing on you? Is there something I can do for you to help relieve, you know, your suffering about it, your sadness about it, and just have the conversation like that. If the conversation goes to where you think that this person's really, really down and kind of not too movable and open to discuss, just ask them, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Or is there a possibility that you would consider ending your life?
I think some people are afraid of that question, right? I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want to, like, but is it better to offend you for 2 seconds?
You know what, that's a great one, because even in the training course they say that that's a myth, that people will be offended.
Okay.
And for the most part, they won't be. If they're thinking about it, they're going to be relieved that you asked and opened that opportunity for discussion, because that door is never open to just walk through uninvited. That's part of the stigma. So if they are thinking about it, no, you've just helped them out greatly. If they're not thinking about it, they'll just say no. They're not going to be offended. They might want to discuss what has made you think it's that drastic, which is great. Again, it's another opening for discussion, but they're not going to be offended.
You know, Molly, I had a conversation with a local, a man who was with the Louisville Bipolar Association, and he had said, you know what, it's not that I want to end my life, I just want this awful feeling to stop. And I think when most people realize that, you know, it's not that they just don't want to be here anymore, it's just they're dealing with something that they just feel like they can't shake.
That's it exactly. That's the nature of suicide, whether it's brought on because of suffering from mental health. I mean, people are desperate, you know, in other situations and they'll end their life just because it's a desperation thing. But if it's mental illness, we can cure that. We can at least make it so you can live with it.
There are folks that are listening to us right now, and Molly, they are feeling that feeling. I just want this to stop, or I feel hopeless. What would you say to them, Molly?
First thing I would say is, if they're alone, I would tell them to call 988.
The suicide hotline.
Yes, the suicide hotline. They will help, they will talk to you, and they will help you find the care you need. I would definitely say call 988. Or call a loved one and let them know that. Start that conversation with them and give them an opportunity to help you. If you're with somebody, start talking to that person that you're with. If you're feeling that way, just say it. I know Pete had thought it, and he never said it to me.
Did he share it with anyone?
No.
Not even his twin brother?
No. Because he didn't feel, I think, this is my opinion, he didn't feel that he had the invitation to do that. People don't share that. You know, people don't, that's just not something that we do as a society, but we should.
Does suicide, losing a child or losing a loved one, it hurts. But when you know it's suicide, this is going to sound really stupid, does it hurt differently?
I'm sorry I'm laughing because I think that all the time. But I wonder that all the time. I can't answer that question because I haven't lost, I hate to say this out loud, I haven't lost a child in another way. And I hope I never do. You know, I lost my parents. They died. They were in their 80s.
That's
it's
something
sad.
that's
I miss
expectable.
them.
Yes.
But and it hurt, you know, but it's something that you know is a part of life. Yeah, but like if you have a child that dies in an auto accident, no, I could never say, oh, this hurts more than that.
Yes. And I wasn't,
I don't think
But I think sometimes with, you know, just, I just can't imagine that grief. I have 2 kids of my own, and I can't imagine how, you don't ever get over it. You don't ever move on, regardless of how your child, whatever happens.
Right.
That's not something as parents that you are ever
can do.
Prepare for.
Right. And so I think it's no matter how you lose them. I guess, though, you know, with suicide, so little is being done to prevent it, and so much can be done. But that can be said with other things. I mean, imagine losing someone in a school shooting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
we need to invest more. We need to talk about it more. So let's talk about the Big Stomp, because that's coming up July 25th and 26th. How long have you all been doing this?
This is our 9th year. We actually held our first music festival 9 months after we lost Pete. So that was like crazy. We decided to do it within 2 or 3 weeks of his passing, and we just hit the ground running.
And you're stomping out the stigma
Yeah.
of the barriers of talking about mental health. So the Big Stomp is happening July 25th and the 26th. It's happening at Waterfront Park. And the money that you raise from the ticket sales, Molly, this goes back into the proactive work that you all are doing.
That's right. It goes to support the Pete Foundation.
Tell us about some of the things that folks get to experience. You're looking at video from previous years. This is a family-friendly event. Bring out your kids. Bring out the family. Bring a lawn chair. Have a great time and enjoy some great music.
Yeah. So great music. I'm really excited about this year's lineup. It's completely drawn from our supporters. You know, we asked for what bands would you like to see, and we created a long list and went through that. So very excited about it. 2 stages. There'll be music all day, but we also have a big area of the festival that's dedicated to what we call mental health activations. So like there'll be meditation, you know, you'll put on headphones from Louisville Silent Disco and you can meditation in a beautiful, beautiful tent. We've got, I think you saw a little bit of a video there. We've got different types of therapy like sand therapy, art therapy. We'll have music therapy. We're going to have some really great drum circles out there that you can take part in. Louisville Music School will be out there doing a kind of like an all-inclusive event with music. We're going to have equine therapy out there, goat therapy. We'll do yoga. It just goes on and on. We'll have one tent that's going to be every hour for about 20 minutes. Every hour on the hour for 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, we'll do different like segments. Like we'll do breath work, sound baths, meditation, drum washing.
And this is the lineup that you all have for this year on your screen. And again, if you are joining us, you can click on the link for the Big Stomp and you can see the lineup that's there. But buying tickets is very easy. Just click on this link right here that says buy tickets at the top of the page. And tell us how the money raised, what it's going to do in going back and giving back to help the Pete Foundation.
Well, a lot of it will go to support our QPR training, which is the question, persuade, refer, because we like to do that at no cost. We want there to be no barrier to getting that training other than your 60 minutes. So it supports that. It also supports work that we're doing right now, like I said, to try to integrate mental health more into the full healthcare arena. And I'm going to say that, let me just step back to something. There is an average of an 11-year gap between the onset of mental health symptoms and the beginning of treatment. So when you consider a deadly illness and we wait 11 years to start care, that has to end. And so getting the QPR will help end that, but our work and trying to integrate it into healthcare, we want to shrink that 11 years down to a very small window. And it also goes into, we have an initiative that we're doing, it's out in bars and restaurants, about drinking. And so there's another website, it's called ifthisisyou.com. And this initiative is about contemplating, are you drinking to avoid or cope? You know, we can all have an alcoholic drink because it's a culinary enjoyment, but are you drinking to avoid or cope? And if this is you, we want you to find the right care. And so it's a website that we've put together. It's a nice collection of resources that are sorted by, you know, where you might be. I just want to be more mindful, or I want to be more mindful about my drinking. Right, it could be I have a friend and I'm worried about them. How do I talk to them? So it's got a good collection of resources on that website. So it goes to support that work. We also have a project that we're doing for young children to teach them about how to talk about their feelings. Not really to teach them, but to invite them an opportunity on how to talk about their feelings. And it's also an opportunity for parents to learn how to open that conversation and carry that conversation with a child.
Yeah, we've got to learn that. I have a 9 and 11-year-old, and since I've been talking about mental health more, I want to learn more about how to approach that topic with them, because they're going through a lot.
They are.
And letting them know that, you know, you're a safe space.
Yes.
There's no judgment in that. I think is just so important. WAVE we are a very proud sponsor of the Big Stomp, so we're so happy that to be a part of this. But Molly, I appreciate you being so open, and I hope that someone who is feeling like they're struggling, that they know that they are not alone, and there are places that you can turn to get help.
That's right, there are. And one of them, let me just say, reach out to us, because we'll help you find the help you need. We don't offer care, but we are a resource and we'll help you find some help. But there's a lot of places in town. Coming out to the Big Stomp, you'll find out about all those different caregivers and facilities in town, whether it's an inpatient facility or online. We have some good online resources. And in-person therapies. But it's hard to find, because since we don't talk about it, like if we worked together and my child was suffering, I might not say, hey, who did you think was a good therapist for your child?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, first of all, I don't even know if your child needed therapy. Second, you probably aren't really, going to feel comfortable saying, oh, well, so-and-so needed to go here.
Yeah.
But if your child had braces, I might say, who did they see for braces?
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that. For the person that's out there and you think, you know what, if you're thinking like, well, everybody would be better off without me, or the world would be better, that's not true. You are loved and you will be greatly missed. And the pain that your loved ones will feel forever, Molly, just explain that.
And there's no words I can put to it. It's immense. It's immense. It's 24 hours.
Yeah, it never goes away.
Never goes away.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think people who are struggling really bad feel like their loved ones will be better without them, because they have a sense that their struggle is so immense that it's impacting those they love. It's not. Those people who love you want to help you.
Yeah.
And they want you.
That love is greater than any other pain that somebody's feeling.
Right.
And, we recently had a coworker who committed suicide. And so many of us felt that guilt.
Yes.
That, why didn't he,
right.
Could we have done more? You look back and you think, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that? And that was really, really hard for a lot of us going through that, because I wish Josh knew that he's thought about, he's still missed, or, the pain that his co-workers, his friends and his family, his dog, just like all of the things that that he left behind.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not that I'm sure, but I would hope that whatever pain he was feeling, that it was something that he could have pulled through.
probably was.
Yeah.
I think it usually is.
Yeah.
We don't know how to talk to people about it. We don't know how to open that conversation. We don't invite people to have that conversation. And nobody has grown up with a sense that they can open that conversation up.
Sure.
And that there is help out there for them.
Yeah.
Few people really grow up knowing that, oh, well, my mom went here for therapy and my dad went here for therapy and my aunt went here. And so, they feel a comfort in that area of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't have that comfort.
No. And I think so many workplaces, I can't take time off from work.
Right.
I can't step away from my kids. I've got to go to here and I've got to go to there. I don't have time
Right.
to make time for myself. And that's when the dominoes start to fall.
Yes.
Yeah. Molly, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you for talking to me about this today.
It's been a true
This is
honor.
great.
And again, go to the Pete Foundation for more information if you're struggling, if you have a loved one who's struggling. Know that you are not alone. And go to the Big Stomp coming up July 25th and 26th. There's tickets still available. And we would love for you to go out and listen to great music, but also just take something away from a fun event that that
Yes.
is helping yourself and the people
Right.
around you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think people will come away from the Big Stomp having had a good time and feeling a little bit more open and uplifted about mental health care, and that they can make a difference.
Absolutely. Molly, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Maira Ansari. Have a great day.